أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباءهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إن تطيرنا بكم إن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليهم ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت من ربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخلوا الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كما أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم والأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم القمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أن حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقهم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون. فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم. وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون. هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون. ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون. ومن نؤمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون. وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون. واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون. فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون. أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين. وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشاها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون. أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم الذي إذا دعيت به على مغالق أبواب السماء للفتح بالرحمة فتحت، وإذا دعيت به على مضائق أبواب الأرض للفرج فرجت، وإذا دعيت به على العسر لليسر تيسرت، وإذا دعيت به على الأموات للنشور انتشرت، وإذا دعيت به على كشف البأساء والضراء انكشفت. وبجلال وجهك الكريم أكرم الوجوه وأعز الوجوه الذي عنت له الوجوه وخضعت له الرقاب وخشعت له الأصوات ووجلت له القلوب من مخافتك وبقوتك التي بها تمسك السماء أن تقع على الأرض إلا بإذنك، وتمسك السماوات والأرض أن تزولا وبمشيئتك التي دان لها العالمون، وبكلماتك التي خلقت بها السماوات والأرض، وبحكمتك التي صنعت بها العجائب، وخلقت بها الظلمة وجعلتها ليلا وجعلت الليل سكنا، وخلقت بها النور وجعلته نهارا، وجعلت النهار نشورا مبصرا، وخلقت بها الشمس وجعلت الشمس ضياء، وخلقت بها القمر وجعلت القمر نورا، وخلقت بها الكواكب وجعلتها نجوما وبروجا ومصابيح وزينة ورجوما، وجعلت لها مشارق ومغارب، وجعلت لها مطالع ومجاري، وجعلت لها فلكا ومسابح، وقدرتها في السماء منازل فأحسنت تقديرها، وصورتها فأحسنت تصويرها، وأحصيتها بأسمائك إحصاء ودبرتها بحكمتك تدبيرا وأحسنت تدبيرها وسخرتها بسلطان الليل وسلطان النهار والساعات وعدد السنين والحساب، وجعلت رؤيتها لجميع الناس مرءا واحدا. وأسألك اللهم بمجدك الذي كلمت به عبدك ورسولك موسى بن عمران عليه السلام في المقدسين فوق إحساس الكروبين، فوق غمائم النور، فوق تابوت الشهادة، في عمود النار، وفي طور سيناء، وفي جبل حوريث، في الوادي المقدس، في البقعة المباركة من جانب الطور الأيمن من الشجرة، وفي أرض مصر ب9 آيات بينات. ويوم فرقت لبني إسرائيل البحر، وفي المنبجسات التي صنعت بها العجائب في بحر يوسف، وعقدت ماء البحر في قلب الغمر كالحجارة، وجاوزت ببني إسرائيل البحر، وتمت كلمتك الحسنى عليهم بما صبروا، وأورثتهم مشارق الأرض ومغاربها التي باركت فيها للعالمين. وأغرقت فرعون وجنوده ومراكبه في اليم، وباسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم، وبمجدك الذي تجليت به لموسى كليمك عليه السلام في طور سيناء، ولإبراهيم عليه السلام خليلك من قبل في مسجد الخيف، ولإسحاق صفيك عليه السلام في بئر شيع، وليعقوب نبيك عليه السلام في بيت إيل، وأوفيت لإبراهيم عليه السلام بميثاقك، ولإسحاق بحلفك، وليعقوب بشهادتك، وللمؤمنين بوعدك، وللداعين بأسمائك فأجبت. وبمجدك الذي ظهر لموسى بن عمران عليه السلام على قبة الرمان، وبآياتك التي وقعت على أرض مصر، بمجد العزة والغلبة، بآيات عزيزة وسلطان القوة، وبعزة القدرة، وبشان الكلمة التامة، وبكلماتك التي تفضلت بها على أهل السماوات والأرض وأهل الدنيا وأهل الآخرة، وبرحمتك التي مننت بها على جميع خلقك، وباستطاعتك التي أقمت بها على العالمين، وبنورك الذي قد خر من فزعه طور سيناء، وبعلمك وجلالك وكبريائك وعزتك وجبروتك التي لم تستقل لها الأرض، وانخفضت لها السماوات وانزجر لها العمق الأكبر، وركدت لها البحار والأنهار، وخضعت لها الجبال، وسكنت لها الأرض بمناكبها، واستسلمت لها الخلائق كلها، وخفقت لها الرياح في جريانها، وخمدت لها النيران في أوطانها. وبسلطانك الذي عرفت لك به الغلبة دهر الدهور، وحمدت به في السماوات والأرض، وبكلمتك كلمة الصدق التي سبقت لأبينا آدم عليه السلام وذريته بالرحمة. وأسألك بكلمتك التي غلبت كل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي تجليت به للجبل فجعلته دكا، وخر موسى صاعقا، وبمجدك الذي ظهر على طور سيناء فكلمت به عبدك ورسولك موسى بن عمران، وبطلعتك في ساعير، وظهورك في جبل فاران، بربوات المقدسين وجنود الملائكة الصافين، وخشوع الملائكة المسبحين، وببركاتك التي باركت فيها على إبراهيم خليلك عليه السلام في أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. وباركت لإسحاق صفيك في أمة عيسى عليه السلام، وباركت ليعقوب إسرائيلك في أمة موسى عليه السلام، وباركت لحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله في عترته وذريته وأمته. اللهم وكما غبنا عن ذلك ولم نشهد، وآمنا به ولم نره، صدقا وعدلا، أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن تبارك على محمد وآل محمد، وترحم على محمد وآل محمد كأفضل ما صليت وباركت وترحمت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم، إنك حميد مجيد فعال لما تريد، وأنت على كل شيء قدير. أذكر حاجات. اللهم بحق هذا الدعاء وبحق هذه الأسماء الذي لا يعلم تفسيرها ولا يعلم باطنها غيرك، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله، ولا تفعل بي ما أنا أهله، واغفر لي من ذنوبي ما تقدم منها وما تأخر، ووسع علي من حلال رزقك، واكفني مؤونة إنسان سوء وجار سوء وقرين سوء وسلطان سوء، إنك على ما تشاء قدير. وبكل شيء عليم. آمين رب العالمين. يا الله يا حنان يا منان، يا بديع السماوات والأرض، يا ذا الجلال والإكرام، يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم بحق هذا الدعاء وبحق هذه الأسماء التي لا يعلم تفسيرها ولا تأويلها ولا باطنها ولا ظاهرها غيرك، أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن ترزقني خير الدنيا والآخرة، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بي ما أنا أهله، وانتقم لي ممن ظلمني، وانتقم لنا ممن ظلمنا، واغفر لي من ذنوبي ما تقدم منها وما تأخر، ولوالدي ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات، ووسع علي من حلال رزقك، واكفني مؤونة إنساني سوء، وجاري سوء، وسلطاني سوء، وقريني سوء، ويومي سوء، وساعة سوء، وانتقم لي ممن يكيدني وممن يبغي علي ويريد بي وبأهلي وأولادي وإخواني وجيراني وقرابتي من المؤمنين والمؤمنات ظلما، إنك على ما تشاء قدير وبكل شيء عليم. آمين رب العالمين. اللهم بحق هذا الدعاء تفضل على فقراء المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالغنى والثروة، وعلى مرضى المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالشفاء والصحة، وعلى أحياء المؤمنين والمؤمنات باللطف والكرامة، وعلى أموات المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالمغفرة والرحمة، وعلى مسافر المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالرد إلى أوطانهم سالمين غانمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وعترته الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم إني أسألك بحرمة هذا الدعاء وما فات منه من الأسماء وما يشتمل عليه من التفسير والتدبير الذي لا يحيط به إلا أنت، أن تفعل بي ما أنت أهله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى محمد وآل محمد. أزكي والحاجات. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سبحانك يا لا إله إلا أنت يا حنان يا منان يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء، رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل بيت محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد. مرسی یا فاطمہ زہرا کا سنائے کوئی، مرسی یا فاطمہ زہرا کا سنائے کوئی، ظلم جو ان پہ ہوئے ہے وہ سنائے کوئی، ظلم جو ان پہ ہوئے ہے وہ بتائے مرثیہ فاطمہ زہرا کا سنائے کوئی، کلمہ گویوں نے جلایا ہے در زہرا کو، کلمہ گویوں جلایا ہے در زہرا کو، جلتے شعلوں سے انہیں آ کے بچائے کوئی، درمیاں ہے در و دیوار کے بن تھے احمد، درمیاں ہے در و دیوار کے بن تھے احمد، آگ آ کر در زہرا کی بجھائے کوئی، صدمہ بابا کا تھا محسن کا نیا صدمہ ہے، صدمہ بابا کا تھا محسن کا نیا صدمہ ہے، فاطمہ زہرا کا اب دل نہ دکھائے کوئی، بنت احمد نے یہ حیدر سے وصیت کی تھی، بنت احمد نے یہ حیدر سے وصیت کی تھی، میرا دشمن میری میت میں نہ آئے کوئی، یہ تمنا ہے دعا بھی ہے یہی حسرت بھی، یہ تمنا ہے دعا بھی ہے یہی حسرت بھی، تربت فاطمہ زہرا کو بنائے کوئی، چاہتے ہوں گے یہی غیب میں میرے مولا، چاہتے ہوں گے یہی غیب میں میرے مولا، قبر زہرا پہ دیا جا کے جلائے کوئی، ظلم جو ان پہ ہوئے ہے وہ بتائے کوئی، ظلم جو ان پہ ہوئے ہے وہ بتائے کوئی، مرثیہ فاطمہ زہرا کا سنائے کوئی، برائے خوش نصیب فاطمہ زہرا سلام اللہ علیہا بآواز بلند صلوات، اللہم صلی علی الفاتحہ، بسم اللہ
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم، حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير، أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، الحمد لله رب العالمين، خالق السماوات والأرض، إلها واحد أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين، رحمة للعالمين، طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد، وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين، أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم وفرقانه المجيد وقوله الحق، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى، صلوات الله محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بنت رسول الله. Respected sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. As we are now closing and marking the end of at least this year's Ayyam-e Fatimiyya, we extend condolences to the Imam of the time, to the Holy Prophet and the family of the Prophet. And in this last discussion that we're having, at least when it comes to Ayyam-e Fatimiyya, I wanted to do something a little bit different that I have not myself done, but inshallah it will be hopefully worthwhile, useful for the mu'mineen. When you gather for a majlis, when you gather for any of these gatherings and these opportunities that we get, we find that the discussions that we have hopefully will give us something to leave the center with, to leave the Husayniyah with, something that will be an intellectual gift. And by doing that, by learning something, by taking something from us, we are actually giving a condolence to the Prophet's family. Because if somebody just comes here and passes time, then we've not really done anything. And the ayat of the Quran Majid that I started out with, and I have done this before as well, is whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet to tell the people. Whenever you see kul, kaf, lam, it is basically a message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting the Prophet in the middle of telling somebody something. So it's Allah's words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's message, but Allah is telling the Prophet, you tell them. And that's why all the surahs that start with kul, any of the ayats that start with kul, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically telling the Prophet to convey something on his behalf. So the Prophet basically becomes the direct conveyor of this, okay? Now, all of you know that the entire Quran Majid is basically talking to the Muslims, to the people, to the muttaqeen. The Quran itself gives its own verdict about who it's talking to. But it was revealed to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, what was happening in the ayat, the context of this particular ayat, what is known as the Shan-e-Nuzul, or the circumstances around the revelation, is by a lot of people came by the latter time of the prophethood, so later part of the nubuwwat. At the beginning this didn't happen, but later the people realized how important the message of the prophet was. A lot of times it happens to us in this dunya as well. People guide us, people tell us things, people inform us, people warn us, but we don't care, we're too busy with our lives, maybe we're young, we're doing this, we're doing that, sab kuch karna hai, we're doing everything else, and then a time comes, we realize, Ya Allah, I wish I would have listened to him. I wish I would have done this. And sometimes those people are gone, sometimes the people are here. And oftentimes our parents are in that position where, they warn us, they guide us. And I know the parents usually always have one statement, that, when you have children, you will understand. How many of our parents have told us that? When you have children, you will understand what I'm going through. And when the parent gets really angry, what happens? Abu Ali, what happens? The parents will tell them that I hope you have a child just like you. Khalas. That is the worst badwa you can probably get from a parent. Because why? I'm telling you this, I'm telling you this, I'm telling you, you're not listening, you've got a thick head, you've got this and you've got that. And human psychology is like that. You don't want to be told anything. We don't want to be told anything. I give the example of the child, but we are all the same. When somebody tries to correct me, I will get very defensive. I'll say, how dare you? Why are you telling me this? Who are you to say this? Why? We become very defensive. And then after some time, when we've had a chance to think, then we realize, oh, okay, what? Maybe I shouldn't have done it. Maybe I shouldn't have reacted this. And we can all, I'm sure, all of us sitting here, have got examples of times when we were angry at somebody, or we retorted somebody, or we became very, very defensive. And then afterwards we realize, Ya Allah, maybe he was right. Maybe she was right. It happens with our spouses, it happens with our children, it happens with our parents, it happens with our siblings. It always happens. And so I can give you countless examples in my own life when things like this have happened. So what happens is that when that time is there, sometimes it is still okay, sometimes it's too late, too little, too late, whatever they say, okay? I always talk to smokers about this. I say, eventually this will happen. Don't smoke, don't smoke. The doctors tell you this, the health specialists tell you that. And years later, when the lungs collapse, when there's a problem in the heart, when there's this and that, then you realize, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But then it's too late. It's like people sometimes saying, you drink a glass of poison, and they say, Ya Allah, astaghfirullah, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Well, too bad, the poison's already there. The time will be up. Okay? And so it reminded me I have a very beautiful story, and I'm going to share this before I come back to what I was, if that's okay, inshallah, everybody. It's a Friday night, so I sometimes like to share some stories. So there was this lady. This lady goes, no, I don't know if I should say this carefully or not. The speaker's off, okay. So this lady goes to a pharmacist. Now, this is a while ago, so this is not in Canada or the Western world. She goes to the pharmacist. She says, I need some medicine. He says, what? What for? What kind of medicine? He says, I want to kill my mother-in-law. I want to kill my mother-in-law. She's driving me crazy. She's doing this. She's interfering. She's nagging this, and that. I want some medicine that I can kill my mother-in-law, but I want it done in such a way that I don't get caught. We all want to do things that we don't get caught, right? Say it now. Why you all say yes? You should be ashamed of yourselves. Sometimes we have to have a light discussion. So the pharmacist says, okay, let me go to the back. Let me find something. He goes to the back. Prepares something. Prepares a jar. Prepares a jar with some tablets in it. And he says to her that whenever you're making chai or tea for your mother-in-law, put one of these tablets in. Slowly, after about 3 months, she'll be dead. She says, oh, how much do I have to pay you? He says, this is she was ready to pay anything. I'm She's ready to pay anything. And then the pharmacist, before he gives it to her, he says, but in order for this to work, in order for this plan of yours, in order for it to work, you have to do one thing. You have to be very nice to your mother-in-law. You have to be very nice to her. Because you don't want to be caught, somebody has killed her. What has happened here? So when you put this tablet in, eventually they'll go into her metabolism, it'll go into her, and after 3 months she'll be dead. But you will pretend that you are a very nice daughter-in-law to her, you are like a daughter to her, and she will not suspect anything. Nobody will suspect anything. Everything will be fine. The plan it will be completely, spotless. Okay. She was so happy. This is it. This is final. First day, next day, she goes there, making the chai for her mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law is nagging and nagging. She puts the tablet in there, mixes it up. Here you go, mommy. And remember, the pharmacist had told her, be very nice to her. Mommy, would you like some biscuit with that? Would you like anything else? The first day passed by, the mother-in-law is still very angry, very nagging, same mother-in-law. This happens for a day or two. Every day she's putting that tablet in, she's putting that poison pill in. By the 4th, 5th, 6th day, 7 days later, the mother-in-law is again, no matter how angry I am, no matter how much I am nagging, no matter what abuse I'm giving her, she's still nice to me because the pharmacist had told her. So after about a week or so, the mother-in-law decides, maybe she's not so bad after all. And the daughter-in-law is still putting that poison inside. Afterwards, sometime later, the mother-in-law becomes very, very nice. She starts treating her like a daughter. She becomes very thoughtful with her, considerate with her. And by this time now, about, maybe a month has passed, a month or a half has passed. And by this time, the daughter-in-law is genuinely building feelings for her mother-in-law. And after about a month and a half, 2 months now, there's 1 month left. This poison is going to be killing her. She's now feeling horrible. She says, oh my God, now what can I do? What should I do? The poison is already there. She quickly runs to the pharmacist. After 2 months, now there is a very close relationship between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. She goes to the pharmacist. She goes, how can you give me an antidote for this? He said, there's no antidote. He said, I don't want my mother-in-law to die now. He said, well, why did you take that in the first place? And sometime later, he says, I can't do anything. You've taken it, you've paid for it, this and that and all. She goes, yeah, but I don't want this. He goes, why? What has happened? He says, well, I did everything you told me to do, and now she's being so nice to me. I've genuinely developed good feelings for her. I don't want her to die. We've got a good relationship. And even if I know, he goes, no, don't worry, you won't get caught. He says, no, I don't care about being caught or not. He says, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. But tell you what, come back to me after another 3 days. Come back after another 3 days. After 3 days, he comes back. She says, well, what can you do? He asks, how are things now? She says, they're even better than when I was there with you the other day. He says, okay, sit down. He calls her to sit down. He says, those pills were not poison pills. They were just sugar or tablets of nothing. Completely gender-neutral tablets. Gender-neutral tablets, there was nothing in them. She goes, what? You lied to me, you did? He says, yes. He says, you see, what happens a lot of times in life is that you don't realize what you may be doing. You only want to see what they're doing. There is an interconnection here, an interconnectivity. And because of that, I told you to do what I told you to do. I told you to be nice to her. And as a result, what had happened was because you thought you were doing something wrong to her, then as a result, you were thinking that you had to make sure that you don't get caught. The intention started out bad, but the end conclusion was good. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So don't worry, your mother-in-law is not going to die. So she was eternally grateful to this pharmacist, not only for giving the poison pills, but also for building her family. So a lot of times we realize that afterwards. So coming back to how I diverted and digressed to that, the people went to the Prophet after they realized. Because you see, initially, people don't want to pray, they don't want to fast, they don't want to do this. You know, Shahr Ramadan comes, what do we find? People saying, oh my God, I have to stay hungry and thirsty for 30 days. The time for Salah comes, oh my God, I have to go pray namaz again. You know, we don't think about how much extra time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Do I have to pray? Why can't I eat that? You know, I had one youngster come to me, you know, Sheikh, are you sure we can't eat lobster? I says, are you a Jafari? Are you a Shia? If you are a Shia, then I'm sure you cannot eat lobster. But it looks so good. I said, what about all the other fish that we have in the ocean? There's salmon, there's tuna, there's halibut, there's the tilapia, there are all these other fish. You've never once came and told me, okay, wow, this trout looks so nice. This salmon looks so nice. Say, you know, when you make something with it, it's always nice. But have you noticed we only want to go for that haram? Those clams look so nice. Those lobster look so nice. Those oysters look so nice. What about all the 50 halal fish? Why do you not tell me that these also look nice? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, you understand the example. We have to pray, we have to fast. Then the people realize that this is how we are getting the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they eventually realized, and they went to Rasulullah. They said, Ya Rasulullah, we want to give you something. We want to give you something. Now, this is a group of people like you and me who want to appreciate Rasulullah. Allah Jalla Jalalahu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told his Habib, his beloved, his Rasul, his the most khayr khalqi, the most blessed of, he says, oh Muhammad, ask for whatever you want, I will give you. This is the same Prophet who went to Arsh Azam in the very presence of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah ta'ala is asking Muhammad, tell me what you want. So how can you give something to one Rasul, to this Ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to whom the creator of the universe has offered everything? How can you give anything? Whatever we give will be, you know, imagine for a moment. All of you here have been so loving and kind to me. Every one of you here. And I believe me, there is not a day that goes by that I say, I wish I could do something for you. I don't know what I can do because I don't have the ability. And I don't know what you will need or what you would like. So therefore, it shows sort of bad akhlaq on my part. Even if I was to give you a box of chocolates or a coffee from one of these nice places, alhamdulillah, at least that is something better than nothing. It's not that you need it. It's not that you want it. It's not that it'll make you rich or poor, but it shows a little bit of akhlaq from me. It shows my akhlaq a little bit at least. Otherwise, if I don't give you anything, there's nothing. So, Ya Rasulullah, we want to give you something. Now remember one thing, the Quran Majid had already come down. The Quran Majid had been revealed. And all the other prophets, if you read the Quran Majid, you'll find something very interesting. Many other prophets were also offered that. We want to give you something. You did this tabligh for us, we want to give you something. And all the other prophets, qabla Rasulullah, before the Holy Prophet, they were told to tell their ummah, La as'alukum alayhi ajran, ajri lillahi rabbil alameen. I don't want anything from you. My ajr, my reward, lillahi rabbil alameen. My reward rests with God. Is with the Lord of the Creator. I don't know. I don't want anything. I don't need and I don't want anything. So maybe some people were thinking that. Okay, Rasulullah said, no, thank you. It's okay. Ajri lillahi rabbil alameen. But the ayah came differently. Allahu Akbar. The ayah of the Holy Prophet conveying to the people came very differently. Unlike those ones, the beginning was the same. La asalukum alayhi ajran. I don't want any reward from you. But if you want to show your akhlaq to Rasulullah, then the Prophet was told, illal, there's an illa. إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. You want to show your akhlaq, you want to try and do something, I don't need anything from you, but if you want to give something, if you want to show your akhlaq, then be good to my family. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ya ala Muhammad wa ali. كُلَّ أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Now I use the word love my family. فِي الْقُرْبَى. مَوَدَّةً فِي الْقُرْبَى. The ayah doesn't say muhabbata fil qurba. It says illa al mawaddata fil qurba. Arabic literasts will tell you something. I don't know Arabic, so I cannot give any comment on this. But there is a difference because in English, mawadda translates into love and muhabba translates into love. Both of them translate into love. So then why did Allah use mawadda instead of muhabba? Is anybody married here? Once? Okay, we have to be everybody. Well, I see a few youngsters who are okay. Do you remember when you were engaged? Huh? You remember? Okay. You know, these kids will not understand this, forgive me, okay? They won't understand what it means to write a letter and to put a flower or a rose petal. You know, remember the rose petal? You guys didn't do that? Not. That's what I'm saying. No, these guys won't understand it, but you and I will. I hope you understand this. You don't remember doing that? You know, and so even if your spouse is, you know, in Waterloo or in Toronto or in Kabul, it doesn't matter. The same law applies. We would put those rose petals in. We would put the little drops of perfume. I don't know, you guys, maybe I'm wacko or something. You put those drops of perfume and then you write the letter. The mail is on strike right now, so this cannot apply right now. But okay, they used to do this. In the old days, they used to do these kinds of things. You know, your parents or your grandparents, if they're alive, may Allah, inshallah, keep them alive. If they're not alive, may Allah give them a place in Jannah. They'll tell you how they used to write poems and that. And if any of you ever get a chance, I know many of you visited my father, ask to see his autograph book. The poems in there are, mashallah, beautiful. Okay, some of the love things he's got in there from others, not from mommy. Okay. Just autograph book. And so what we're saying is that when you're in that stage and you care about somebody or you love somebody or you're in that phase where you are engaged to somebody to spend the rest of your life, notice I said the engagement period. I didn't say anything about the marriage period. It's a whole different world after marriage. I can hear lots of comments from there, that side. What happens is, that is a period whereby you are only thinking about her. What does she like? Will she like my beard like this, or does she like it trimmed? Does she like this color on me, or does she like that color? When you go to buy your clothes, when you go to buy your shoes, when you go to buy your socks, you're not anymore worried about what you like or what color is suiting you. You'll think about, honey, what should I buy? What color shirt should I buy? And they'll tell you the weirdest of things. Buy a pink shirt. The other day I saw somebody wearing a pink shirt, a boy. I said, "Kya ho gaya tumhe?" Did you have a gender operation or something? No, my wife made me wear this. Okay. It happened right here in front of my eyes, so I don't want to give you any more details. Okay, but if you remember somebody wearing pink just a few days ago, you'll know who I'm talking about. Anyways, I said, "Baba, what's wrong with you, Baba? What is wrong with you?" Say, "Yeah, but I have to do it because I want to keep peace in the peace in the house. Happy wife, happy life." They always tell me this. I don't know where that came from. Why don't they say anything about husbands? So I once asked somebody, "What about a husband? Why don't we have any feelings?" They said, "Nothing rhymes with husband. Happy wife, happy life, all looks together. Nothing rhymes with husband." Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Anyway, so everything matters there. So the difference between muhabba and mawadda is exactly what I explained to you. Muhabba means you love somebody. You love your parents, you love your siblings, the siblings love you, you love your children love you. That is muhabba. You will do whatever you can for them, they will do whatever they can for you. But mawadda is a stage higher than that, whereby the whole focus, the whole direction is what is needed or wanted by that person, no longer what you like. So it crosses the boundary of muhabba and goes into mawadda. And the Prophet was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tell the people not just to have muhabba of Ahlul Bayt, but to have mawadda of Ahlul Bayt. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That means you don't do what you want to do. You don't just love the Ahlul Bayt. Just say, "I love Ali, I love Fatema, I love Hassan and Hussein." No, you walk on the seerat of Hassan and Hussein. You walk on the seerat of Ali and Fatema, alayhimus salatu wassalam. That is the difference between muhabbat and mawaddat. that you do what they expect you to do. And when we remember when we are marking these Ayyam Fatimiyya, or we had marked these Ayyam, we saw many lessons from the life of Fatima Zahra alayha salam. The one thing I just wanted to briefly talk about, and I know I've taken up a lot of your time inshallah, one thing I wanted to talk about, the khutbah that she had given at the time of Fadak being taken from her. The khutbah she had given. The khutbah is beautiful khutbah. There was a book written by Ayatollah, Marhum Ayatollah Al-Uzma, Sheikh Lutfullah Safigul Paigani, Allah Maqam. A great leader, my marja for many years and a very dear teacher of mine. And he wrote a book called Fatemiyya is Ashura. Fatemiyya is Ashura. And that book actually has been translated into English, and the khutbah is in that book. And you can actually, I put myself in trouble in the sense that our library doesn't get used as much. You can download it free actually. You can read it free and even download it. So I've given you a little bit of a clue. The khutbah of Fadak, of Hazrat Fatima alayha salam, it is a slightly lengthy. I don't want to say it's a long khutbah. It's a slightly lengthy khutbah, maybe 3 or 4 pages long. Okay? But in Ayatollah Agha Safi has been actually describing the circumstances from the original sources, whereby Hazrat Fatima Zahra alayhi salam goes to the Khalifa. As soon as she heard that the Khalifa had taken Fadak from her, she goes, she puts on her complete hijab, long dress, her feet are even covered, takes some of the ladies with her, some of the people to accompany her, and then she goes there. As soon as she gets into the Khalifa's courtroom, which is the office, immediately the Ansar and the Muhajir, they make arrangements for a partition. There's a partition there. And then she begins. She just lets out a slight sigh. And that has immediately caused the people, especially the ladies who were there on her side of the curtain, to cry torrents of tears. Even amongst the Ashab and the Ansar and the Muhajir, they started crying as well. She waits for everyone to stop crying. She herself is in mourning. Her father has just died, remember that. I'm giving you the perspective. Her father has just left this world, Rasulullah has just left. The Khalifa has been selected by a group of 19 people. She waits for all that to finish. And then she starts the khutbah of Fadak. My sisters and brothers, believe me, there is so much content in this khutbah that one of the contemporary Maraja, who was also there in the time of Ayatollah Safi, his name was Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, Shahabuddin Mar'ashi Najafi. We used to, when I was living in Qom, we used to do namaz al-Jamaat behind him Maghrib Isha. In the Sahn of Hazrat Ma'asuma, we used to do Salatul Jamaat behind him. Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi had become very frail. He would be, 2 people would actually have to help him, and then as soon as he started his namaz, he was on his own. He would do his Takbiratul Ihram, they would leave him. He finished his namaz and they would have to help him up again. He was I've given many examples of Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi. I don't want to go into those details. It says that you've probably heard it from me or from other ulama. But Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi was also an expert on genealogy. Any Sayyid who wanted to prove that they were Sayyid, they would go to him. He would take their name, their father's name, and their grandfather's name. Usually that's all he needed. Maybe he might need one more name. And he would take your lineage right up until the Imam Ma'asum. A lot of times people would go with a white imama. Imam would tell them, Chikanmi kuniya, mahada, what is going on? You should be wearing a black amama, you're a Sayyid. So he would take off the white amama and put a Sayyid. A lot of people with a black amama, Sayyids, or who claim to be Sayyids, would say, Shiba Sayyidista, you are not a Sayyid. He would take off the black amama and put a white amama on them. So he was an expert on genealogy. One of the things that he wrote in his wasiyat, in his will, he was the same marja who told his heirs, his son, he says, the handkerchief that I have done the Azadari of Abu Abdullah, bury that with me. He says, for this will be my shafahat in the presence of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. This is the marja who is saying that he's in his wasiyat, he writes, he said, because will is not just, I have this property, this one gets this one, this one. A will is your message to the world. Please remember this, my sisters and brothers. A will, a wasiyat, is your message to the world, your khudaf's message, your ma'as-salama message to the world. He writes in that wasiyat nama, in that will, he says, read the khutbah of Fatima Zahra. And then he says something very profound. If you read the will of Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, you'll see this. He says, even ulama have not understood the khutbah of Fatima Zahra. Even ulama have not fully grasped the khutbah of Fatema Zahra alayhi salam. So I was thinking that if the ulama won't understand that, I am nothing. I'm not even the shoelace of the shoe of an alim. But I just wanted to go through this and say, what is the depth of this? What is in there? And the way she starts the khutbah and praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there was one thing, numerous things caught my attention. But one thing I wanted to share with you that she says. She says, Alhamdulillah alladhi, praise be to the one who created everything. But she says something so profound that is something we haven't even thought about. She says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything on this earth without any prototype or without any similitude. Allahu Akbar. Think for a moment, my sisters and brothers. Look at the wisdom, the infinite wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right now, when we make something, it's because of our necessity. We need it. Or something that we are looking at and we want to try and do. How did the airplane come about? People saw birds flying. They saw birds flying. They said that we want to also fly. They saw camels and horses and donkeys traveling. Well, I want to get from here to Waterloo faster. Okay, they all invented the automobile. I need to get to a higher place. We have a ladder. We have a step stool. I need to walk. I have a cane. All of these things are because of our necessity. Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have any need? Does Allah need anything? And imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating things without some sort of a prototype, without a similitude. If we look at an airplane is shaped like a bird, henna. So we had to see a bird in order to create an airplane, or at least look at the movement and the whole mechanism of the bird to be able to create the airplane. We saw the moon. I want to go to the moon. We built the spaceship, the Saturn V or whatever, Apollo 11, whatever it was. And so we did that. So we needed something to be our stepping board. When you see how Allah Ta'ala created everything, imagine that. What was the example in front of Allah, na'udhu billah, that He used to create, whether it's inside. Even the Bible went to the extent of saying, God created man in His image. And I once had almost like not a joke, but a comical discussion. I said that God created man in His image, right? That's what they say. We're not saying that. I said, but then how did God know what He looked like? Today, if I want to see if my teeth have been brushed properly, if there's anything on my nose, if there's, my hair is trimmed, I know it's fuzzy right now. If my eyebrows are okay, I look in a mirror. But if I don't have a mirror, how will I know how I look? I'll go to Sayyid Habib. I say, can you please tell me if there's anything funny? Is everything okay? Am I looking handsome? Not that I want to get married or anything. I'm just saying if I look okay. Sayyid will tell me, he's an honest friend, he'll tell me, okay, some of these eyebrow hairs are a bit too big. You've got some hairs here, these should be taken out. This is not right, your glasses are a bit crooked. Yeah, okay, thank you. He becomes my mirror. Who did Allah ask? What mirror did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have that He had to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm going to create man in my own image. And so, we are seeing that Bibi Fatema alayhi salam in her khutbah is mentioning that Alhamdulillah alladhi, praise be to that God, that deity, that creator who created without a need for anything. He didn't need anything. It's not like the way we need things and we need a mic system and then we created that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need of anything and yet He created. And when you look at the beauty of creation, whether it's the birds, whether it's the fish, whether it's the animals, whether it's the human being, imagine for a moment what beauty and depth Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything with. You look at the non-life things like the mountains and the oceans, and you see, wow, how much there is there. And they say, I was just reading an article the other day, they say that there is, how many, I was reading one thing that in 1 square mile on Earth, in 1 square mile, there are more insects, different kinds of insects and insects, than there are human beings on Earth. In 1 mile, more insects than there are human beings on Earth. And then the same report mentions that there are more forms of life in the sea than there are on the Earth. We're trying to reach the stars and the universe and the ends of the universe. We haven't even explored Earth. Dunya hi nahi dekha hai. We have not even seen the earth that we are living in. And we want to reach Mars and inhabit Mars and create life there, life forms there. Inshallah, no problem. I'm not saying I'm against science or anything. But I'm saying, do you realize the depth and the beauty? And Hazrat Fatima is mentioning this in her khutbah. Don't think that Fadak she was asking for property. Don't think she was asking for this piece of land. If you look at that, and then after she finishes a whole paragraph of praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all the, I'm only doing one line. Imagine the amount of time I've taken just for one line of this khutbah. I've not gone anywhere into the khutbah. Then she says that Salatu Salamu ala my father, who was a slave of Allah, the messenger of Allah, the beloved of Allah, the chosen one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was my father. That was my father. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then she goes on to talk about the qualities of her father, the Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not necessarily as a daughter to a father, but rather as the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most beloved of Allah's creation. And then she talks about the wilayat, she talks about Amir al-Mu'mineen and what have you. But like I said, if you have time, I would really think that you'll see what Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi said, that even ulama will not be able to understand. You need to, this one line that I was deciding to do the khutbah, you might think I'm exaggerating, but I had to read it 15 times over just to try and understand it myself, that what can I talk about when I'm saying this. Just one line. The khutbah I told you is about 3 or 4 pages long. One line took me 15 efforts to try and see what was Hazrat Zahra said. And I'm not a mufassir, I'm not doing a commentary on her words. I'm just saying that this is one thing that caught my attention immediately. Okay, how Allah created without that. And then she goes on to say that this property, she gives the example. Okay, when the Khalifa said prophets don't inherit, she says, did Sulaiman not inherit from Dawood? And she gave numerous examples of the Quran. And then she also mentioned this was a gift to me. It was not an inheritance. You've taken the haqq. And why I say that, because a lot of times, even today, people ask me, why are the Palestinians fighting for land? Land is here today, gone tomorrow. Why are they standing for this land? Tell them just to go somewhere else. You don't understand. Today it is this land, tomorrow it will be that land, the next day it will be completely gone. This is our third Qibla, our first Qibla, sorry. Bayt al-Muqaddas, Al-Quds is our first Qibla. Keep that in mind as well. So I don't want to go into details on all that. But a lot of times people think, well, this is not just a matter of land. Why are you fighting for land? Why are you fighting for property? Why are you fighting for money? Hazrat Zahra, when she was in front of the Khalifa, did not fight for a piece of land. She fought for the principle that was there of haqq and batil. If it was not for the usurpation of Fadak, my dear sisters and brothers, I'll tell you one thing. If it was not for Fadak being taken for Fatema Zahra, and her vision was already looking at this, no follower of Ali and Zahra alayhim salam would ever have to go begging to any Khalifa's doorstep. Because the property of Fadak was and is so fertile that the entire gross domestic product of the Hijaz, of what they call Saudi Arabia today, is nothing compared to what Fadak can generate. And that means no Shia would have ever been hungry, no Shia would have been poor, no Shia would have been needy, no Shia would have ever need to go to the doorstep of any Khalifa had it not been for that Fadak to have been taken. There would have been a financial and a political and independence of every lover of Fatema Zahra and Ali Murtada alayhi salatu wassalam. That was the reason Fatema Zahra alayhi salam went there. Otherwise, why would she go? There was a deeper reason. The issue of haqq and batil, and she taught us not to make sure we do not give up anybody's haqq. We don't deprive anybody's haqq. Whether you're looking at what is happening in Syria today, whether you're looking at Palestine and Gaza, whether you're looking at Lebanon or anywhere else, in Nigeria, in Yemen, in Kashmir, this is all the same, in Parachinar. Our salams on those who are suffering. Because this is the message of Fatema Zahra alayhi salam. I have told you from the very beginning, the Ayyam Fatimiyya started, I said I cannot recite the Shahadat of Fatema Zahra. I don't have the ability and I'm not able to. There are times that even at home when I'm listening or reciting or reading the Masaib of Fatema Zahra, I cannot finish. And so I've told you from the beginning that I will not be able to recite how she died, why she died. It's beyond me. You can see it in the books. But if I wanted to tell you something on this last night that we are marking, at least for this 1446 Hijri year, I will tell you one thing, that there are 3 times when a ma'asum has cried torrents of tears at the time of the demise of somebody. The third one was when Imam Muhammad Baqir was given the ghusl to his father Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, and he cried out, "My father Baba, what has happened?" When they asked him, "Yabna Rasulullah, oh Imam Baqir, why were you crying like this? Why were you screaming like this?" Imam replies, 35 years transpired. 35 years have elapsed since the tragedy of Karbala, and my father still had the injuries on his body. The second ghusl, the second time that an Imam Ma'asum was crying was when Imam Zainul Abidin had to bury Sakina Ruqayya. The Imam could not even give ghusl because the blood of Hazrat Sakina Ruqayya was attached to the clothes. He could not separate the clothes. And that was the second time a Ma'asum was heard crying at the time of the demise of somebody. When was the first one? This is what I have been preparing you for the last 20 days. The first one was when the Lion of Allah, when Asadullah, when Ainullah was giving the ghusl to Fatema Zahra, and the people heard him screaming and crying, and he was crying torrents. In fact, they said that one time he even passed out, and after the ghusl they asked him, "Ya Ali, what happened? A sabir like you, a patient one like you was crying like that." Imam says that the injuries on Fatema Zahra were so great that I cannot imagine that how she was so patient for these days. How she was patient when he lays her down into the grave. He looks over towards Masjid al-Nabawi. He says, "Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Peace be upon you, O Messenger of Allah. This amana, this trust that you had left with me, this trust is being returned to you. Ya Rasulullah, forgive me, for they have bothered her and damaged Fatema Zahra." وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ راجعون. Ya Allah, we ask you to accept this ibadat from us. Forgive our sins and our shortcomings, Ya Allah. Let us try and have the sabr and the strength of Hazrat Fatema Zahra salamullahi alayha. Ya Allah, give us forgiveness in our shortcomings. Let us do the azadari and have the shafa'at of Fatema Zahra alayha salam on the day of judgment, Ya Allah. We have been promised that she will not go into paradise until the Shias have inshallah gone in as well. We ask her shafa'at on that day, Ya Allah. We ask you, Rasulullah, to be pleased with our actions and our deeds. Ya Allah, those who are ill, grant them shifa kamila from their illness. Ya Allah, those who are in debt, help them fulfill their debts. Ya Allah, those who are suffering in so many parts of the world, hasten the downfall of the oppressors and grant the mustad'afin a speedy victory, Ya Allah. We ask you to protect our ulama, our maraja, the mujtahideen who are serving while the imam is in occupation. Grant them a long and healthy life in the service of Islam and the Ahlul Bayt. Ya Allah, we ask you to return our Mawla Imam al-Hujjah to us. Make us amongst the ashab and the ansar of the imam. Let us see zamana al-dhuhur with our own eyes. Rabbana taqabbal minna. إنك أنت السميع العليم. If we can recite 5 times Amma Yajibu for those who are ill. One of the ladies in our community is going through a surgery, had gone through a surgery today, I understand. For her shifa, for all those who are ill, for Allah Ta'ala to give them shifa, for our hajat to be accepted, for hifazat of Imam Zamana, and for the safety and the security of the mu'mineen in Pakistan, especially in Parachinar, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Yemen, in Chechnya, in Kashmir, in Nigeria, wherever they're suffering, in Lebanon, in Iran, and in Iraq, everywhere where there is suffering, all together 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma إذا دعا ويكشف السوء من يجيب مضطر إذا دعا ويكشف ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. اللهم صل على محمد. الفاتحة للأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله. ماتم حسين.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اللہم صل علی محمد و آل. پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی، ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی، 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی، کس طرح سے تو بی بی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی، بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، دو ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریکی میں جو اٹھے، بس گھر کے ہی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندھے، ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے ایک بالی سکینہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، مرہم تیرے زخموں کا بی بی نہ ملا اب تک، اولاد امیہ کی باقی ہے جفا اب تک، رونے پہ بھی پہرا تھا تربت پہ بھی پہرا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، مہدی سے کوئی پوچھے کیا اس پہ گزرتی ہے، آواز بقیہ سے رب رونے کی آتی ہے، آنکھوں سے لہو رو کر وہ بھی یہی کہتا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، تصویر حقیقت کی خوابوں کو بنا دیجئے، اے بی بی تکلم کو تعبیر دکھا دیجئے، ماتم تیری تربت پہ ہوتے ہوئے دیکھا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اللہم صل علی محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفة الله، السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله، السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله، السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى، السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين، فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرفيع الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن، بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة علي الأكبر عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة الشهداء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأوداءه، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن ابن علي الزكي الناصح، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي، طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم، وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة عباس عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما، وأقدمهم إيمانا، وأقومهم بدين الله، وأحوطهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك، فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر، والأخ الدافع عن أخيه، المجيب إلى طاعة ربه، الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.